Okay, so welcome to the crash course of great design. So where we stopped off last time, I think, was around this sort of different fields around design, and what we're going to talk about today is the tools of the trade. And here, I'll just start listing different tools that can use, so different software that I've been using when I've been working as a designer. And both in 2D and in 3D. So let's start with the 2D softwares. So first off, we have Photoshop, and most of these first ones are going to be from sort of like a company called Adobe. And Adobe does a lot of good sort of graphic design software. So Photoshop is a pixel based software, and Photoshop is the one, or is the software that I'm using right now. So what you're looking at right here is done in Photoshop. And then we have Illustrator, which is a vector-based software, and which would be really good for logo design and animation. Then we have After Effects. After Effects is an animation software, which you can use to create explainer videos, for example, or which I'm using right now to cut together these videos. There are other ones, which is called Premiere Pro and stuff. I'm not going to go into that here because I'm not using that software. Then we have InDesign, which is more for, let's say, like making books and putting together presentations. And then we have Lightroom. So Lightroom you would use to take an image that take a photo, and then you would grade it, make it look more crisp, make it look more, I guess, like premium. My brother calls this software the sun bathing software, where you can make anyone look tanned within a matter of just seconds. So perfect if you're going on a vacation, but you haven't been on a vacation for a few months, and you look super pale, like I usually do. You can use this software for the first couple of pictures in that album. I also want to go through a couple of alternatives to these. So you have Photoshop, which is a free software if you use Windows. I wouldn't recommend using this one, but it's a good alternative to Photoshop. It's a really simple or simplified version of a, I guess, pixel-based software. And then for After Effects, we have Movie Maker. And Movie Maker, I think it's good. I haven't used it for a couple of years now, but I guess it's good enough. And then for InDesign, you could use PowerPoint instead and make presentation and stuff. Maybe a better alternative for Photoshop would be Sumo Paint or GIMP. I know there's like 100 different ones of these. I think Sumo Paint is an online software, which you can just go onto a website and then use it instantly. It looks almost identical to Photoshop. And this one, there's a software called Inkscape. Inkscape, I have never tried it before, but I did a quick Google search and I found this one, which I think it could be a good alternative to Illustrator. And then for InDesign, you could also use Word. And there's another option here, which would be doing like a Google Drive, like go through Google Drive and use their versions of PowerPoint and Word. Okay, so to show you quickly the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator, I've put together two pieces of circles, or like two balls. And let's say this is your logo. One of these, so let's see, like I'll give you like a nice color here. So this one is a Photoshop logo, and the other one is an Illustrator logo. The Illustrator one is vector-based, and the Photoshop one is pixel-based. So the difference here is that if you take your Photoshop logo or your pixel-based logo and you blow it up, you're going to see that on the edges here, it's you get this like pixelized edge. And if I then, this is like a transformation tool that I'm using now. So if I push enter, you're going to get like a really soft edge, like a low quality edge, which is usually not what you want. So instead, if we go into the vectorized logo and we do the same thing, you can see here that the quality of the edge doesn't go down. You don't get that soft edge. And even if I push enter, you keep that really sharp edge. That's because if you do it with pixels, you're basically painting on each pixel of your screen on your canvas. When you use vectorized art, or you use vectorized software, you don't paint on each pixel. What you do instead, you paint with numbers, basically. So if I draw a curve, or if I do like a shape like this, I'm drawing shapes, and the computers recognizing the edges as different sort of coordinates on your canvas. And that's why you can make it smaller, you can make it as small as you want, and then you can make it bigger, and it's not going to ruin the quality of your image. So now if we look at animation, or like this animation software, it's pretty clear. You use it to make videos with it, but you can still use either one of these two, so either Photoshop or InDesign, to create the art for your After Effects animation. And this is what most animators do. So if you have an animation business or an explainer video business, most likely they're going to, like, the art in this animation or in these animations are going to be made in either Illustrator or Photoshop. So what people do is they either make like a vectorized file, or like a sort of let's say, like if they make a character, they would draw like the arms. This is one way of doing it, but you draw the arms, and then so let's say this is like an arm right here, and then what they do is they take one piece of this arm. Let's say this is the lower arm, and they would put it here, and then they can animate the arm moving, basically. That is one way of doing it. So I'll show you the other way as well. Another way they would do it is they make one arm that sort of goes like this, and then they would make another layer. So the next layer, they would make it a little bit different, and this is called stop motion or frame by frame animation. So, and they wouldn't draw it over on top of the same layer. They would make different layers, and then when they make the animation, they only show you one layer at a time, which makes it look like it's moving, sort of in the same way that I showed you before. So that's two different ways you can use the After Effects software to make animation. Then there's a lot of different tools inside of each software, of course, where you can sort of cheat and do the same thing, but really like a lot more quickly. So in After Effects, for example, a really good idea is to just download a ready-made template with a character or whatever you want to do, and then just put it in there, and it will animate it for you. Not 100%, but you might have a character like walking, and you can just put your graphics in there, or like your illustrations onto this character, or just use it as it is, which is a really good way of like saving time and getting things done really quickly. If you Then check out InDesign. It's basically the same thing as doing like a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation, but you have more sort of tools inside this software to make it look graphically amazing. So if you want to write a book, for example, and you want that little number on the bottom of your page, so let's say you have like a page in this book, you might want like a number down at the bottom here. And so on, if you want to do that for each page, but you have like 400 pages, you don't want to go into each page of this sort of book and do like a different number and change it manually. So there is software inside InDesign where it does it for you. So you just basically put it into this software, and it enters like the right numbers inside it, which is really nice. Lightroom, I don't have a lot of experience in it, but I know a few basic things. One thing you would want to look at is something called LUTs, which is a way, or like a finished sort of grading that you just put straight into your software, into Lightroom. And the images, or if you have like an album of images you want to do the same thing with, you can just like choose that LUT, and then that LUT will change up like the whole album to make it look coherent, or like the same sort of style. Highly recommended. You can also use LUTs for software like Premiere Pro and After Effects. So now let's look at the different kind of 3D software. So 3D software, you use it for making like movies and doing prototypes. So if we liken it to the 2D software, you would make like concept art and stuff inside one software, which would be Photoshop, and then you would make like final production stuff, like a poster, like a book, like book art, animation, and stuff like that in another one, which would be like the vector-based one. So you have the same thing when it comes to 3D software. So you have 3D Studio Max here, for example, which is a polygon-based software. You could liken that to pixel-based 2D software. And then you have software like Fusion 360, which is a CAD-based software. And so in one, so 3D Studio Max, for example, which is polygon-based, you would make movies and make game assets, for example. But you can also do like concept art. So you can go into doing sculpting and stuff like that. So you would get really, it's like rough and detailed, maybe. And if you look at like an artist or like a sculptor, for example, he would probably not use to make like a person, or like a sculpture of a person, probably wouldn't go into like a CNC milling machine, like in this industrial CNC milling machine to make this person. He would probably start with like carving tools and stuff like that. So this is what 3D Studio Max would be. And if you compare these two different ones. Fusion 360, which is a CAD software, you would make it to create tools or physical prototypes, or get ready to do physical prototypes or final stage products, because then you can use it to do like rapid prototyping, 3D printing, put it into a milling machine and stuff like that. Then we have another kind of alternative to these. So 3D Studio Max, which is polygon based. Then we have Maya, and then we have Modo. So all these three are polygon based. If we look at the CAD based software, we have Fusion 360, AutoCAD, and Rhino. And it's more for final production than doing like polygon based art, basically. So if I draw some stuff up here, for example, you have the polygon-based stuff, which even if you make like a ball or something, that ball would be made out of what we call polygons or triangles. So each piece of this ball or this sphere would be made up of layers or like connected polygons or connected triangles. So the problem here is if you want to do like a rapid prototyping product inside a polygon-based software, what happens is if you blow this one up, like in the Pixel one, that one would be really jagged and like low quality. So if we zoom into like this part right here, for example, you wouldn't see like a rounded edge like this. You would see like a jagged, like really straight lines in between the different polygons. And then if we go back and look at a CAD software, you would, if you blow that circle up or like that sphere up again, it's going to look really smooth close up. So the closer you get, it's not gonna lose the quality of the sphere. It's gonna keep its quality. So that when you go into like making tooling and stuff for like a physical product, so let's say we go back and look at the product that I showed you in the last video, the Gaia products. If you want to make a tool for this, like the base or the tank part of this product, then you wouldn't use a polygon-based software. You would use a Fusion 360 or a CAD-based software. So that way, when you send it over to like a production facility, you would get a really high quality product with like smooth edges and everything. But if you would make this into like a game prop or something, let's say you're making a 3D game or a character, you wouldn't want that sort of high quality, like really heavy sort of files in that in your game, because it's going to slow down your computer and you're not going to be able to play the games. So then you go into like these ones, Maya, Modo, 3D Studio Max and stuff. So I hope this helped you in some way. What you would do here is, like I said in the last video, you would probably not sit down and learn each sort of software, but now you would understand sort of who you want to, like which kind of freelancer you want to connect with. So if you're looking for someone to make a prototype of your product, you wouldn't ask like a polygon-based 3D modeling guy or a 3D designer to make it. But if you want to do like a visualization of your product or a concept sketch, you would go in here. And the same thing with Photoshop and Illustrator and all of those. If you want to do like a concept art or like a really quick sketch of something, or like more like a painting, you might go to a Photoshop guy instead of an Illustrator guy. And when it comes to animation, you might go to an Illustrator guy and not a Photoshop guy. Hope that makes sense. So if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll try to explain to you in a different way. And yeah, let's jump into the next video.